Hello, everyone, and welcome to season 1 of AS Level Business. This is your host, Yawar Hussain, and I'll be with you throughout the year. Since this course is called business, I think it's a good place to begin by describing what a business is. You know, the word itself, we've heard it a number of times. We think we know what a business is all about, but what is really a business? I mean, to be honest, the reason we're here right now is because a business decided to do this, right? What about on your way to school? You see outside the window, there's a vendor on the side of the road selling vegetables. Is that a business? What about these companies with huge buildings and lots of branches and selling products all over the country and the world? Are they businesses? Can two friends working together be called a business? What about people in the same family? Well, the answer to all of those is yes, 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 and yes. They all qualify as a business. And all the categories that we've just discussed do qualify as a business, or as we like to call a business enterprise, because they all start by doing the most basic thing that all businesses do, and that is by identifying customer needs. Okay, what is it that people want? Get inside the head of the people you're trying to target. Do some data analytics, ask some questions, do some research, and try to figure out what is it that people want. And at the end of the day, there's really two things that people or customers want. There's some things that they need, and there's certain things that they want, right? Needs being necessities people can't live without. Water, food, shelter, like the basics, you know that people will always demand that. So that's a good place to begin when you're trying to decide what to do when you decide to start up a business. But that's not all that people want. You and I, we all have wants, we all have desires, we always want more than what we currently have. And that's what really drives businesses, is that some people will be willing to pay a higher price for things that they desire. And that's where the opportunity to make the profit lies. That's where you sit in a corner and okay, this is the customer. This is the thing that he wants. I can produce it. I can make it better than the other people can make it. And if I can convince him to buy my product, I can maybe charge a high price for it, which eventually leads me to a profit. So identifying what people want and seeing the business sense in it is the first thing that all business enterprises need to do, because at the end of the day, it's all about the dollar. When the dollar is flowing in, you know you're on the right path. So start by identifying what customers want. And from there, it comes the second phase of what defines a business. And that is that all businesses require certain resources. Another word for resources is factors of production, so you can use them interchangeably, one in place of the other. And in your course, or for any business, they will require 4 resources, a combination of these 4 to do whatever it is that they want to do, starting with land. Okay, now of course you will need a piece of land to set up a factory, start a shop, grow some trees or crops rather, right? So you will need a place to begin to set up your workshop and things like that. But the discussion of land does not just stop at a piece of little earth, but it also includes all the natural resources that are taken from the earth to make products from. So any natural resource, for example, oil, which you need for production in most businesses, would also be categorized under land because it's part of nature, and that's what's also included within the definition of land. So as we all know, all businesses will need a place of operations, and for that, you need a piece of land. Okay, now we also know that land can be tough to buy because they might be expensive. Good land is not cheap. If you want to be within the city, it's going to be expensive. If you are outside of the city, you may get a bigger area, but it may not be so cheap. So there are some obviously choices that you may have to make as a result. Secondly, labor. Okay, of course, when you start a business, there's only so far you can get with just your own efforts. You will need to bring in people, hire expertise, hire specialist managers who can bring new ideas and try to bring the business forward with their enterprise, with all the skills that they have. So labor and good labor will be needed, but at the same time, good labor is not cheap. It's not easy to find qualified people, and even if you find them, it may not be so easy to convince them to join your business. So at all levels, okay, now also understand that there's no one level of skill that's required within a business. And when I say that, I mean that to run a school, for example, you need people at the gate checking your cards when you enter, for example. So that's also labor. The teachers are labor. People in the administration are labor. So different skills are required in different quantity when you're talking about labor. But nonetheless, a very important resource, labor. Thirdly, capital. Okay. Now, the word capital, of course, capital of a country is not what we're referring to. We're referring to money here. So anytime you talk of money being invested into the business, okay, so anytime you, let's say, borrow money from a bank and invest it in the business, or you put your own money in there, all the investments are considered as capital. Now, some businesses will bring all of their own money. Some will be a combination of some loans and some of their own money. So this will be a combination. And additionally, capital also includes any man-made resources, any pieces of technology that you use in your production process. So any new, let's say, molding machine that I get in my car manufacturing process, or an automated painting robot that doesn't need any human element and it's only being programmed to paint the whole car without any supervision, that would also be an example of capital. And finally, enterprise. Enterprise, the word means collectively all the skills of an entrepreneur. Okay, now who is an entrepreneur? The person who starts a business, takes a financial risk, and this is discussed more in the next video. But right now, just understand that it's all the skills of a person who's starting the business that are required to be successful. They will need to be a risk taker. They will need to be innovative. They will need to show leadership qualities. They should be clear in their communications. So all those things collectively form enterprise, which is the skill of the person who's starting it. And obviously you will need all your drive, new ideas, and focus to be coming from some person who's taking the whole team forward. And that's what enterprise does. Now, throughout this discussion of resources, one thing that's true throughout is that these aren't cheap. Okay, good land will be difficult to find. Skilled labor will be expensive. Capital will be expensive to borrow. Machines are expensive to buy. Good, honest, and hardworking entrepreneurs are difficult to be attracted to the workforce. So there's going to be challenges. And yes, you will need to have good amount of finance when you're dealing with these resources, when you're acquiring them. But one thing is for certain, that these resources are not enough for everyone to go around. Okay, now you as two businesses may have the money for it, but they may not have two pieces of land. They may have to find for the same piece. So just even having more money does not mean that things are accessible, because they might be limited in supply. We call that concept scarcity. Okay, scarcity.
Quick pause. If you're finding value in this explanation, there's so much more to discover. At Alt Academy, we break down every A-level concept with the same level of clarity. Now, let's continue.
SCARCITY. Okay, simply means limited. So all these resources are limited in supply. Everybody wants it. All the businesses would want the best of these resources, but they are limited in supply. So businesses are faced with a problem here. Okay, as a business, I'm sure even when you start a business, you'd want all of these resources. Cheap land would be nice, skilled labor following you, that would be nice. Somebody giving you money to start your own business, all of that will be nice. But it's just not that easily available. So you will have to make a choice. As a businessman, as an entrepreneur, do I spend more on land? That means I may not have enough money for labor. What if I spend more money on acquiring enterprise and I spend all my capital on that and I don't have enough money left to invest in machines? So there'll be choices made. And this little concept here of making choices is defined by opportunity cost. And this little concept here tells us that businesses will have to choose between resources. What do we want to spend on now? Is it labor? Is it capital? And by giving up one thing, would you be only able to achieve the other one? So it's a little give and take. You give some, you get some. So maybe not spending on labor right now and getting more enterprise would be a better thing to do. So making those choices is important for a business. And the choice that you give up, okay, the second best option, that is called opportunity cost, which is defined as the next best alternative given up. So something that you give up to get what you wanted, second best thing is called opportunity cost. So for example, I had to choose between buying a PlayStation or the new Air Jordans. If I get the PlayStation, the opportunity cost is the Air Jordan shoes. So what you give up is the opportunity cost of what you got. Now, once the entrepreneur has acquired all the resources in the combination that they desire, they will have to go about combining those resources to convert it into some sort of a product. Of course, you can't just sell land and labor to people. People want products. People want things that they can use. And the distance between things being in its most bare form as resources to being converted into product is this process of value addition, meaning that you've got to convert those resources into something of value to the consumers, something that they want, something that they desire, which means something that they'll be willing to pay a high price for. And that's what you're looking for at the end of the day, that it can't be just something that you want to make. It has to be something that consumers want, if it is providing a solution to your customer and adding value to them. As long as you provide value, your consumers will be happy. And for example, if you look at this example, what it simply says is that you can buy an orange by spending a little bit of your money. Yes, that's true. But from that orange, you can make orange juice, which you can then sell to other people for more money than what you had to pay in the beginning. So by doing a little bit of process, by taking it through a little bit of transformation, you convert a fruit into a glass of juice, and clearly that's of some value to people. I love orange juice. I'd pay for this, probably with this dollar. So that's what you want. You want this Marge Simpson looking lady to be happy and liking your page on Instagram. And that's what value addition does. And another benefit, which is what the producer is most interested in, is that it creates the greatest distance between raw material cost and selling price. What that means is that all the things that you bought in its bare form to make the product, you put it into some sort of production process, you convert it into a product, and you sell it for a price that's higher than it cost you to make. Okay? When we look at this in a simple formula form, it looks something like this. And this is how you calculate added value, by subtracting the cost of raw materials, all the things that you put on it, from the selling price. The distance is the amount of value you've added to the customer. And the thing of value that the consumer is willing to pay a high price for is what we call the end product. Okay. Now, the word product has two further categories within it. Okay? A product could come in the shape of what we call goods or services. And the difference between these two is that goods are things that you can touch, you can feel, you can check quality of. So things that are tangible. You can see, you can touch, all of that. Services, on the other hand, are still providing you satisfaction. You are paying for it like you would pay for a good, but you cannot see them. You cannot touch them. Yet, you feel the benefit of it when you use them. Intangible. That's how you differentiate between the two. The goods are tangible. You can see, touch, check before you buy them. Services are intangible, but in both cases, they're providing you satisfaction, and you end up paying for it as well. And now, these goods and services are further divided into two categories. Consumer goods and services, and capital goods and services. And I'll just give you an example of each so that you can understand what these are. Okay, when we talk about consumer goods, okay, things such as let's say a cell phone. Oops, my handwriting needs to improve in future classes. So something that you pay for, you can hold in your hand, you can exchange, you can sell, that it provides you direct satisfaction. All your social media accounts are on it, all your friends like your photos on it. So it's clearly of value to you. So making that would be one of the places to start for a business. A capital good would be something that other businesses buy to use in their own production process. Okay, so let's say I am a juice maker. Okay, if you're familiar with the brand of Greeno, right? They make juices, all kinds of shakes and juices, and mixtures and things like that. But they don't make their own juicers and blenders too. That would be counterproductive. So they buy the juicers and blenders from another company, and then they use it in their own production process. Such goods are called capital goods. So something like a juicer, for example, right? Mixer, for example, again, sticking to the juices theme. All those are machines or products, goods that you bought from someone else to use in your own production process. Services, consumer services, of course. How about Instagram? Everybody knows what that is. I'll just move on. And capital services would be things like insurance. Okay, like companies move their products all over the world. They're afraid of things might get stolen or damaged. So they often take insurance or cover their losses by getting insurance policy from another company. You can't see an insurance policy, but it is there. So goods and services, two further categories, consumer and capital. And finally, when all is said and done, a business needs to make sure that it is selling its product for a profit. Okay. Now, what is profit? In its most simple form, and this is such a simple but a great way to understand this whole course, this simple definition. Because profit is the eventual goal of the business. And the only way to improve your profits is by trying to increase your sales. That's one way profit would definitely go up. Excuse me, my arrows are a bit crooked. At the same time, this is very important. At the same time, if you can get your costs to reduce, that will also have a positive impact on your profit. So as long as a company is able to manage its costs such as raw material costs, labor costs, marketing costs, all these, if we can somehow find a way to minimize all of these, it will also have a positive impact on profit. And with an increasing profit, what you end up having is a happy entrepreneur. So as long as any combination of people qualify for these 5 stages, meaning they identify customer needs and wants and try to satisfy it, they acquire resources, they go through a process of value addition, they come up with an end product, and as long as they're selling it for a profit, they will qualify as a business enterprise, whether it's on a simple street or it's in a huge building, they would be classified as a business. But it's not so easy setting up a business. There will be certain pitfalls, certain problems that all entrepreneurs, all people starting a business would face right at the beginning. And those problems can keep mounting if they're not addressed. Those problems will include things like lack of working capital. What if something changes in the business environment, new competition, government introduces new taxes? All of those will put pressure on new young businesses. Young businessmen, young entrepreneurs also do not have good management skills. They're just learning the tricks of the trade. So that might be a problem. Additionally, and this is a huge problem, lack of capital. Okay, how do you keep the business running? So these problems will be faced by young businesses. And it's the skill of the entrepreneur, the enterprise, that will help the business in succeeding. And that's what we discuss in our next video.
Now that that's taken care of, head on over to altacademy.org to watch the rest of our A-Levels business videos. Over 60,000 students have already taken the leap. What are you waiting for?